They just want you to sit in your chair and go, hip hip hooray, for the Western press and the Western narrative, regurgitating the same old, every single day, without the stop. Please watch the first 2 episodes, the second series. Look at that.
Absolutely fascinating.
And it was the first time the Beatles had really stopped being semi-professional almost.
I forgot to put the power on. I'm awfully sorry. That's what I mean. I've been chasing around, lack of sleep, lack of everything. And that's me suffering. I should have gone out shopping today, but I couldn't. Doing it tomorrow. I'm going to get myself a big bottle of scotch and I'm going to drink it before I go to bed tomorrow night. Might as well, mightn't I? Big bottle. That'll put me to sleep. But anyway, I hope you can hear me. I hope everything's okay. As I mentioned, I have to do this again because these are wonderful people. Gap Painting Services, sponsors of the Frank Carlyle podcast, every single one of them. And they're fully time served, these lads. They're not cowboys. And I know some cowboys recently, and they're proper cowboys as well. Anyway, these are proper time saved, fully insured lads. Don't struggle trying to paint and decorate your homes inside or out. Get these lads in. They're brilliant. If you're a NHS worker, if you're an elderly person, get them in because you get special discounts. If you don't fit into those categories, honestly, they are very, very reasonable. Just give them a try. Just phone them up and just say, listen, how much for this? They'll come out, have a look, give you the price, what you want to, and you'll be eternally grateful that they did come out instead of struggling. Please come out to them. Gap Painting Services, the sponsors of the Frank Carlyle show. All the pods. And I'm glad that you all can hear me now. Because Jason said, if we got to turn the power, turned us off last night. It's all these new fandangled things, you see. Right, so hi Frank, I was shocked to read the famous streets of Liverpool with a dark history. Bull Street with Jonas Bull, Rodney Street with Admiral George Rodney. Oh, he's a hero, eh, mate? Hero. Stop the French from coming in. Stop the French. Sir Thomas Street with Sir Thomas Johnson. I know where you're going with all this. Interesting to read that Rodney Street, Harley Street of the North, yes, as a Nazi consulate before World War II, as well as the people who lived there, from Epstein to Gladstone to Chambers, East Chambray Hardman to Dr. W. Duncan. Wow. Did you forgot? Sarah Biffin. You forgot Sarah Biffin. The dark history. A couple of interesting facts. The first shot at World War One was fired from the Wirral. Shot from one of the guns of Fort Perchrock, New Brighton, towards a Norwegian vessel just 30 minutes after the war. After war was declared. Why did they shoot after them? They were neutral, being neutral in all the wars. Unless he has a loads of... Anyway, the Anglican Cathedral has 13 bells ringing. Listen, you might as well fucking do this yourself. Honestly. The dark side of Rodney Street. But I'm glad you actually put before the World War II. And who said they were Nazi? Wasn't it just the German consulate? Right. They have big flags over, a big swastika outside the door. Liverpool is one of the few UK cities mentioned in its songs. Long-Haired Lover from Liverpool by Jimmy Osmond. Yeah. Going down to Liverpool, the Bangles, and Liverpool, and in Liverpool by Susanna Vega. What about Penny Lane? What about that? Buonasera, Franco and Anthony. Everybody on chat. Buonasera, Bella. Buonasera. Ciao, Franco and Anthony. Hi, everyone. Hope you're all well, says Toscana. George said, good evening, Frank. I hope you got my... What email was that? Johan, Mia, Simon. No sound, Frank. Tosca, I've gone deaf. Frank's goes to me talking to himself. I said, talk to myself every night. I know I talk to you, but I get no feedback. Do you know that? No one's talking back to me. I only have Anthony on. Me. Even in Frank and Anthony, I hope you're both well, says Lynn Ellis. Hiya, Lynn. Hiya. Franco, today I went to the library. I seen a poster of a train disaster. 1905, killing 21 people and 47 injuries due to point failure. Support Express collided with a stationary train 120 years ago. Well, Charles Dickens, he hated trains because first time he ever went, or the second time I think, he went on one, there was a train crash and he hated them. He called them monsters. I hate flying. I hate flying. And as my old grandmother used to tell me, flying is for birds. God made birds to fly, didn't make humans to fly. Always said that. Toscana, I can hear it's a miracle. Buonasera, Franco and Anthony and chat. Hope you're all well. Oh, lovely. Thank you, Bella. Mille grazie. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're all well. Yes. Says Johan. Hello, Johan. It's lovely. Have you ever dropped something? And I'm absolutely fuming over it. Fuming. I only had it there. I can't find it. And Jason moved it on me when he was doing this. He must have done. He must have moved it. I'm not going to speak to him no more. Ever again. Ever again. He must have moved it. Piece of paper. Very important to me. I'm looking for it now. No, must have threw it away. Fuming I am. Oh, fucking hell. Hi, Frank and chat. I hope you're all well tonight, says the bear, Scottish bear. Thank you, Scottish. Hope you're well too, my friend. Frank, I think Simon may be watching Lawrence Westcott's videos. He's a fucking arsehole then, if he is. Hi, Frank. He's under... investigation, by the way. I shouldn't be saying things like that, but he is. And he's a fucking liar. Makes things up. Hi, Frank and everyone. Like and subscribe. Can't comment much. I'm in work, says Christopher. Thank you, Christopher. Steve Mulholland to Simon. The song Rotterdam by Beautiful Soul mentions Liverpool. Never mind, Simon. Keep on watching those things. You're watching them. In my Liverpool home, yeah, I think Paul George has gone off the rails a little. Hello, Frank. Not long back from Gulliver's bloody knackered. So early night for us after a takeaway. Still buzzing from that win. Yes. Yes, Lee. But we've got to play a lot better, mate. Got to play a lot better than what we did. We were shocking. Slot got away with it again. That's all I'll say on the matter. Because this is the history show. Love it, says Elton Ellis. Dean, talk about when Leeds won the league at Anfield. First time in their history. I can't. This is a history show. It's not football. I'm awfully sorry, Dean. Sorry, mate. I want to talk about Leeds. I was there. I mentioned it to a Leeds fan just a little while back. He came on the show. He's coming on a few times. Just before the season started. And I mentioned about Anfield and Jackie Charlton coming down to the Cop, you know, clapping us. And he told the players, he said, let's get down there. He said, look at this. I've never witnessed anything like this in my footballing career. And because the Cop was actually applauding them for winning the league. So I have spoke about it, Dean. Still have a book here for you, Frank. Have you, Lynn? Can't wait for Franco to see what the topic is tonight, says Bella. When I get through these, I don't know myself. Has the paper fallen on the floor by any chance, says Lynn? Lynn, I think Jason's moved it, I'm being honest. Jason's definitely moved it because he was where my paper was. He was doing something, and he must have moved it. And I can't find it. I'm fuming. Really am. Really am. I'm looking now, but it's not here. Where there are papers, because I had it just there. Gone. Gone. Oh, it's not there. Nope. Frank mentions Admiral George Rodney. Actually, who told you that? Hey, who told you that? And so fucking what? Hey, I don't believe this. I emailed Jason the morals near my house relating to C.S. Lewis, the Titanic. Have I seen them? I don't know whether I've seen them, George. And Johan, I know it's a history show, but what about the finish it? Yeah. Yes. Did I say it today? No. I'm off. No. When am I doing it? I did a set. Should have reminded me. You should have reminded me. I'm awfully sorry. Because that really needs to be mentioned. It really does. Because everything from that paperclip, Operation Paperclip, is what's happening today. Believe it or not. And people don't realise that in Poland, there was a massive Banzerite following. Massive. And that's why they didn't allow any, well, it's up to them, it's up to any country, you know what I mean? Any immigrants into their countries. None. Know what I mean? But this fella now, the new, I forget his name. He's the new president, prime minister, whatever you want to call them there. And he's just turned around and said, well, I'm getting rid of all this ideology, Nazi ideology, because it was massive there. That's why they turned against Russia, because of Ukraine being Nazified. But I don't want to go into that tonight. It's simply because it's a history show. I don't want to get... But yet, I'm awfully sorry. It's a long thing about Paperclip. And what has happened after the war in America and Europe. They came here, They came here. We allowed them in as well. Be surprised. And it's really annoying. And Mia says, he's great, but I'm more happy about Ekatike. We finally have a good striker. Apologies, Frank. I couldn't join the show yesterday. Otherwise, I would have mentioned it. No worries. Save it for the Friday show. I wish you would have. I would have done it tonight. I really would, because as you know, Johan, Operation Paperclip, and that's what it was, an operation. Get these people out. Every one of them are Nazis. Every single one of them. See, people think that, Germany was the only Nazified country. Far from it. Far from it. And Mia Ekatike, 3 goals, 3 games, Clinical striker. I'm not. I'm going to bring in my wonderful Oppo. Anthony's been waiting very, very patiently. He's been listening to me swearing, and he really, he blesses me all the time. But anyway, there he is. Just a wonderful one. Great fella. Great artist. He just is. And he's an all-round good egg, as they say. And there's the lovely man himself. I'm proud to call him a good friend, really. Evening, Anthony.
Good evening, Sir Francis. I forgive you for your swearing. I tell you what, that swear box last night, jeez, the noise out of that.
I think that's why, Johan, he's a lovely fella, Johan, as you know.
Yeah. No, I know.
And he must have gone, I'm not watching that. I'm not watching that much long.
Oh, you know what? It looked brilliant last night. The screens, you on it, the sound was great. I mean, obviously, the players did all right as well. Could have done better, but it's a bit like the Keystone Cops at one point. But yeah, good.
I know. I seen the comments, and I was quite surprised actually. At these comments.
Well, I don't know what's going on tonight, but we look like members of the Johnny Cash fan club. Men in black.
All in black, yeah. I like do you know what I think, Johnny Cash? Having said that, no matter what genre of football, of music there was, whether you were just into rock and roll, whether you were just into jazz, whether you were just into anything, or even classical, and Johnny Cash came along, and everybody loved, no matter what music you loved, just loved
Absolutely,
just loved
right.
them.
Yeah, it's just those people in history, throughout history, that just attract support, whatever they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Writers, artists, poets, sportsmen.
Just got a message off Jason. I'll have a look. I'll have a look at when we have a break, where he said I definitely wouldn't have been them. I know he wouldn't have been them.
No.
Christopher. No. Oh, sorry. George says, the Liverpool Castle would have been a great sight to see. Could you remind me who built it? It's when William de Ferris came down. He was appointed by King John, to be the overlord of the new borough of Liverpool in 1207. So when he came down, he was made a great honour. It really was. Because people were saying, well, why didn't he go to Chester? Because it's nearer than Lancaster. Well, the Earl of Chester, he was asked about King John, the antiquary who came to Liverpool. Well, it was no such place as Liverpool to oversee this place. Anyway, he went to Chester first. And he said to the Earl of Chester, what do you think of the king? And he went, he's garbage, he's rubbish, he's taxing me for nothing. So he had bad words said about King John. I know I'm putting it in a nutshell, but that's the way it was. So we said, when he went back, he went up to Lancaster, the antiquary. And he got to William Z. Ferris and he said, "What do you think of the king?" He said, "He's good. He's good." So by the time he got back, and he said to the King John, he said, "Listen," he said, "I've found new land." He said, "Chester's been settling up since the Roman times." He said, "But there's this place," he said, "and I've used it from a place called Hyerton." Hyerton. So we said, "Oh, okay." He said, "Well, what's there?" And he said, "Well," he said, "no one owns the land, but ships can come in without silting up." He said, "So it's great for our shipping, if we need to embark soldiers just in case." So we said, "Okay." So anyway, he said, "What's there?" He said, "Well, there's lots of labour around, lots of it. No one owns the land, lots of labour around. There's a couple of sheds, that's all, that, fishermen use when they go out fishing. On the pool," he said, "that's what the locals call this other river coming off, the River Mersey. So they call it the pool." So he said, "I really need you, sire, to claim it for the realm, this land, this piece of land." So he said, "Okay." So he named it, and it was hyphenated, by the way, at the beginning. Liar, Pole. Liar, Pole. And that's how we got our name. That's how we derived our name. So he said, "Well, what about the Earl of Chester?" "Oh, he called you for everything." "Oh, does he now?" "So what about that Earl Ferris fella up in Lancaster?" "Oh, he says you're great." "Go away, did he?" "Yeah." "Well, all right, get him down to the new borough, because he made it a borough." So he came down, which was a great honour, as I said. And all of a sudden he went, "Right, what we need now is a castle." So we went to the top. He was looking all around. Now, don't forget, there's nothing there. There's absolutely zilch there. Just hills. Because believe it or not, Liverpool is built on hills. When you take everything away, if you go down a pier head and you look up, say, Water Street or James Street or any other bloody street from the pier head, it's like that.
Yeah.
Then you get to the top, say, where the town hall is. And then you look down Dale Street. Well, it was called the Dale. It was called the Dale. And if you get to Moorfields, as you walk along Dale Street, you look up again. So, and by the time you get to the bottom of Dale Street, you look up. You look up, say, William Brown Street, so you're looking up again. So you get to the top of William Brown Street, with St. George's Plaza or St. George's Hall, and you look up again, London Road. So you're looking up, so it's built on hills, Liverpool. It never flood, Liverpool. And the way Newcastle was last night, they could have shed bucket loads of river tears, would have filled the river, wouldn't have flooded. So that would have been ideal living here if there was loads of Newcastle fans shedding all the tears after their last night. Anyway, enough of that. That's only a little bit of humour, by the way, people. So Liverpool is built on hills. So what he did, De Ferris, it's where our law courts is and where that monument of Victoria is. And he looked there and he flattened it. He said, "Hey, I don't want that flat." So we flattened that area around. because as I said, don't forget, nothing was there. And he said, this will be ideal place for the castle. An ideal place. So what you had, let me try and do this for you. Do you mind if I take you off a minute, Anthony?
No.
I just want to try to show something here. Right. I'm going to take you off a minute, George. Right. Now, what you've got here, what you've got there, the coordination on this is shocking. Oh, come on, Carlyle. It's not any better. Fucking hell. There's the Mersey there, right where them little ships are. And then you go around to here, with the little anti-churches. You never want to know what that is, for fuck's sake. And see that little river? Well, that's the pool coming in. And that's what they said, that's what the antiquary said. It's another river coming up, the Mersey. So he decided this will be ideal to build a castle. I'll tell you for why. And it's because of, this is awful, fucking hell. It's because of this here. It's terrible doing this, Honest, I can't do it. Can you see the moat there? Can you see the little drawbridge there? And that fella going across. I always used to say that was our kid. Well, where my shoulder is here, here, there, that's a moat. And where that fella's crossing, that's a moat. So there was a moat going around, filled with water. Go fill it with water. And I've gone all blurry. No, we haven't. Of course it did. So it was ideal for the water to come off the little river there, the pool. When I was before, I fell asleep sitting because I get no sleep. And I made myself a cup of tea, and I said, I love this, drinking it. It's just come out. And I've got myself half a cup of cold tea, and I'm going to have a sleep with it. I'll bring Anthony back on. So it was built. They got the stone from, believe it or not, Moorfields. I mentioned Moorfields. And after a while, when they were making the railway, an underground railway, Moorfields was ideal because there was big things missing, if you know what I mean. They said, oh yeah, look, just like Lime Street Station. They took it from Lime Street as well, the brick, to build that castle. And it was finished in approximately 1234. I hope that's okay.
Fascinating, amazing. And what's more, the daily poignancy about it is that not too far away from where we are, Liverpool Castle, is North Wales, and the number of castles that are still there, Conway Castle, and just imagine what that would do today. That would be fantastic.
Well, if you could imagine, Anthony, people say, is that the oldest? That would have been the oldest, building? No, it wouldn't. It was the Birkenhead Priory. It was fascinating, the castle, when it was built. The monks were very, very clever people, and they had to earn money as well.
Yeah.
And what they did, they came over and they were bringing over farmers, with their wares, because Liverpool outside the castle started to have fairs, markets.
Yeah.
And they used to ferry over the likes of these farmers with animals. And all it was, how they ferried them, they had a massive rope from one side of the river to the other. And they used to just pull along.
Yeah.
That's how they did it.
Amazing.
So they used to bring the wares over. And they also said, is there any to the sheriff? Says, is there any way that we can build a brewery in here? Because people need to drink. And they said, yeah. And also, as they said an oven, but it was a bakery to bake bread. So they said, yeah, that'll be great. So inside there, they had a brewery inside the castle, and we're baking for bread.
Wow.
And that's how they did it. And what else they did as well? They used to get lots of straw, hay, whatever it was, bed it down, and just put like skin it was, or some kind of fabric over the hay or the straw. And they said it was a hostel. That's where people could stay. The farmers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Overnight.
Yeah.
It was incredible what they did.
It is. The person.
The monks, Birkenhead monks.
Yeah.
So they built a ferry, they built a bakery, they built a brewery. Because, the brewery, if you're a farmer and you're over there and you're doing your wares and it's tiring and you're going to have some mead, some ale, that the fellas, the monks brewed, and you just wanted to sleep. So the little hostels became a refuge.
Just amazing. That is, I mean, what is wonderful as well, the Priory is still here and still open. So parts of it are ruins, where you can go up the tower, which I think St. Mary's, and you can see exactly where those ferries would have gone from and to. It's right next door to Camelairds, obviously. So, but I love it when we still got that connection.
Do you know what? Someone mentioned, I said something, and someone mentioned, now that I said about Liverpool getting the Roman street plan, the old Roman street plan. And someone said, no, it wasn't a Roman street plan, it was something else. And I said, and that annoys me, because every street throughout the world, every single street is from the Romans.
Yeah.
It's from the Romans.
Yeah.
Every single street. See, this is what I mean about some people. I don't know whether they're trying to be clever or what, but it's so annoying. It really is annoying.
Yeah. It is.
Shocking. It is shocking because it really pisses me off, to be honest. George said, good evening, Anthony. I hope you're having a great evening, sir.
Good evening, George. And you know what? I am indeed. Thank you. Amongst brilliant company. And forgive me, I didn't say hello to one and all early on. Hello, all. I've been watching the comments when I've been in the green room drinking grouse. But now
And Johan. Good evening, international artist, Mr. Brown.
Good evening, Mr. Kindness. Good evening, Johan. Hope all's good with you.
He is though, isn't he? He's a lovely fella. And Mia. Anthony.
And laughingly molies. What have I done? Good evening, Mia. Thank you.
She's just going like that. Anthony. You know, she's a flirt as me, you know. Definitely a flirt because she's a nurse. Thinks she can get away with everything. And Mick Gonzo. Hiya, Mick Gonzo. Even if Frank, I think Johnny Cash played the Empire. Would have loved to have seen. Mick, I've mentioned this. I mentioned this last year on my show.
Yeah.
Every time I you know, when after lectures and whatever, I used to see a fella named Black. I don't know whether he's still with us, unfortunately. And he used to stand in Williamson Square, you know, where Owen Owens, you know, where the playhouse is, the opposite side, you know, Owen Owens is, you know, the corner there. And he used to sell bin bags. And I was ordered to, if you're passing that Blackie fella, will you get some bin bags? Well, he knew me and I knew Blackie, you know what I mean? Even being out for a few beers and that, you know, with a couple of lads. And anyway, it was incredible. I think I told you this, Anthony. I was standing talking to Blackie, right? And down walks this fella, all in black. And it was Johnny Cash. And he'd just been on Radio Merseyside. Not Radio Merseyside, Radio City. And he was walking down. All right, Johnny. Big tall fella, you know. Didn't realise how tall he was.
You feel like the side of that castle.
Boys, yeah. And we mentioned Elvis, you know. He never recently died when we seen Johnny Cash, you know. I mentioned him. I said, what was the feeling like, you know, throughout the musical business when Elvis died? And he said, say that again. I said, when Elvis died, what was? And he said, it's Elvish. That's how he pronounced it, Elvish.
Elvish.
I said, oh well, what was it like when Elvis died? And he was telling us he was a lovely man. And he said, where's the cavern? I'm on my way towards the cavern. I want to see the cavern. And I never saw, you know, Blackie or myself never said, well, you know, it's gone. It's only a replica. So anyway, we were pointing. And I said, listen, I said, I'm going. I said, I'm because when I worked in town, I'd never take the car. So I said, I'm going for the bus. I said, I'm going home. So I brought him down and I got by Whitechapel. And, you know, it's called the quarter, isn't it? The Metro Quarter. Yeah. So I brought him there and I said, just go through that little place there and right facing his cabin walks. I said, that's where it is. And he went, thank you, shook my hands and got up. And at stage, you know, coming to think about it, like, you know, people were working, people were going home from work and, you know, so it was like kind of busy. Even the taxi drivers where they park, you know. Yeah. And he's just walking through. A couple of taxi drivers, you know, they always stand outside the cabs, as you know, talking to each other. And they just looked at him. No one said a word. A couple of people looked at him, but they just let him go, if you know what I mean.
Living history. Absolute living history.
Oh, yeah. Incredible. Incredible, man. But that's what he's... And he had that deep voice, you know. Elvis. I think it was more of his accent, you know what I mean? So I said, I was at the People's Sake in the entertainment and when Elvis died.
You know what?
Stupid. And he just answered. He said, it was devastating. He said, when anyone dies, he said, but such a star as Elvis. Oh, okay then. Wow. Thanks, Johnny. And that was it, you know, Johnny Cash. And I didn't realise how tall that man was. Yeah. And he was all in black long coat black trousers, black boots he had on. He never had a hat on though, and he didn't have anything around his neck or anything. It was just an open black shirt.
Wow.
Just like what we could be the next Johnny Cash's, couldn't we? With our open shirts.
Well, we could be
Shirts.
the whitened version of it, yeah.
So Mick Gonzo, Johnny Cash. I always, you see, I always wanted to see. An ambition of mine was to see Roy Orbison.
Ah,
And I always remember him being on The Everyman. Was it The Everyman? Was The Everyman? Was it The Everyman? Yeah, it was. It was The Everyman. With the Beatles.
yeah,
With the Beatles.
yeah.
But all the tickets are gone. I was only very, very young, you know. And then years later, he was appearing again somewhere, tried to get tickets. No, nothing's out for me.
Yeah.
So I never ever fulfilled that ambition of seeing the Big O.
Do you know what? I loved his music. I loved him as I did Johnny Cash, and I loved his personality because he knew he was a big star. It's like everyone who works at what they do. No one makes it overnight. So in these years, and he leans up and he gets to attain that level of top of the bill, big star. And when he saw the Beatles, when the Beatles were part of his package tour, he said, wow, these guys are good. And as the tour was going on, the Beatles were releasing music. And he said, halfway through the tour, he said, you should be on top of the bill. And that's what happened. He dropped his name and they got top billing. You could not imagine that happening with anyone else.
No, because there's lots of egos, isn't there?
All the time. Yeah.
Loads of egos.
And
even in, I'm sorry, Anthony, but even in films.
Yeah.
You see, like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and The Sting, and it's had Redford and the other fella Newman, and they didn't know where to put the names, so they had them like this: Redford, Newman, and there was arguments over it. Well, I want to be named first. I'm bigger than him, or something like that. Yeah. And it's very hard to compare, two big stars. So what they did after that, after the Newman and the Redford fiasco, I don't know whether you're aware of this, they started to put, things in alphabetical order. No names. The cast in alphabetical order.
Yeah, so there's no argument. That's the way it is, yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Well, I preferred Redford any time, to Newman. So, Mick, you should have been outside Owen Owens with me and Blackie, and you would have met him. I'd like to give you a song. Someone said that, So then you say, give us a song, Johnny, before you go. The usual, Give us a song before you go. And Mia says, got Bournemouth versus Brentford on the listening to our two brilliant gentlemen teaching us things, says Mia. So are you watching the match?
Yeah. Oh, Mia. Yeah.
She's a whopper there, isn't she? Watches the match and listening to us. Do you know what? I get to sit around here, And Callum says, me, thing is, with Bobby, he missed loads of shots, but went unlucky. Unluck cause how good he was on the ball. And he's right. So I'm not reading them out. It's football. It's what I'm sorry, girls and boys. I'm sorry. I'm not going to read out any football. The Anfield Law. Good evening, all you lovely Frankie lights. Frankie lights. Come on there. Frankie lights. I haven't seen you for a while, Ron. He's been watching the games as well.
Good. I tell you what was good I saw last night and tonight is Scottish Bear. Because I haven't been on a show with Scottish Bear for a while.
No. And I could answer that, Callum. Yeah, he will be. He's a season ticket holder. And Mia said, "Oh, Mia." Mind you, they can talk to themselves. I'm sorry there. Talk to yourselves. I'm sorry. And Johan says, brewery, bakery, hostel. They sound like hipsters from the past. You could imagine that, though, couldn't you? Hoodies, out the hoods.
Yeah.
You want a bed for the night.
Yeah. Yeah. I can definitely see this rich.
You got a lovely baby over there, Mike.
Yeah.
Good evening, gentlemen, says Peter Brown. I'm glad that YouTube has directed me to something interesting. Oh, thank you, Peter Brown. Is there any way that you could get our algorithm up, please? If you subscribe and like. But thank you, Peter. Lovely little comment. Thank you. And Simon says, every time I say that, I feel like singing, sing for Simon says, put your hands in the air. Every time. At Georgia, it's a bit confused why you can make an assumption based on having no facts to back up what you're saying. As a matter of fact, I don't know or watched any of his. Well, I'm not interested in that, to be honest, Simon. And as our lovely Mia says, welcome, Peter. Yeah, not lovely.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do, I'll just read two more out. I'll go for a break. Just let me read this out, says George. I remember my dad's cousin telling me, saying Frank Sinatra at the Empire in the 50s. It was always annoyed me, old man, as he loved Old Blue Eyes and didn't get to go. Oh. I could tell you the story. I'll tell you the story about that, George. When he was here in the 50s, I'll tell you the story after the break. I'll just ambidextrous. The first gig I went to was Tin Lizzy at the Empire. Brilliant venue, yes.
And what a gig.
Was you there? Tin Lizzy? No.
No, I was Tin Lizzy, but I wasn't there at that gig, though.
They were good then, weren't they, Tin Lizzy? And as Johan says, Elfish Presley. That's the way he said it. Elfish. It's Elfish. But he wanted us to pronounce it like that rather than Elvis. I was, when Elvis started, Elfish. But anyway, if our Jason's there, we'll have a quick break and I'll make it myself a fresh cup of tea and look for that fucking thing. This is the Cathedral of Christ the King, and it seems like a second home, along with the Anglican Cathedral. But every time I come here,
we seem to learn a lot more history, and none more so than a person that was actually born on this site. People sometimes term loosely individuals as heroes. So what does an individual have to do to become such a hero? Let's go back in time and picture this scene. Thunder and lightning. A young girl running through the streets of Liverpool, heavily pregnant, banging on the wakehouse door right here. The door opened. The authorities didn't realise that this girl was heavily pregnant. She collapsed, and unfortunately she died. But she was given birth at the same time. And when she gave birth, the authorities panicked because the lady died. They thought that the child had died as well, so they rushed him over to the chapel where they baptised him, because obviously they thought that he was going to die. And they baptised him John, after the Baptist. And they gave him the old Anglo-Saxon word, kirk, meaning church. So this young boy became John Kirk. And John Kirk, his birth was actually the catalyst for Charles Dickens's Oliver Twist, because Oliver Twist, he was born in a workhouse to a mother who died, and Charles Dickens read this particular report, and as I said, it put the seed in his head. And who was Oliver Twist's benefactor? It was none other than Mr. Brownlow, his paternal grandfather, hence Brownlow Hill Workhouse. But what happened to John Kirk? John Kirk escaped certain death because workhouses at that time were an absolutely dreadful place to be placed in. Because the only time that you ever came out to freedom was feet first, because you were tied to the workhouse for the rest of your natural life. John Kirk escaped the workhouse, and what an incredible life story he had.
What happened to Kirk was an extraordinary true story. He somehow got to Lincoln. No one knows how he got to Lincoln, by the way. He just all of a sudden happened to turn up there, and he joined the army. Now, don't forget, in those days, it was hand to mouth. And that hand to mouth, you had to do something. And he was just a young boy, a young man. And he joined the Lincolnshire Regiment. He became a drummer boy. Then he progressed to being a bugler. And from there, obviously, a rifleman. He was sent over to India, and it was the Raj, belonging to the British Empire. And during the 1857 Indian Uprising, what he did, he volunteered along with 2 sergeants to go and rescue the captain of the regiment, the captain's wife, children, servants. So he volunteered along with the 2 sergeants and went, and he actually fought hand-to-hand combat 2,000 Punjabis, just these few men. And they actually got the captain, his wife, children, servants to safety. And he was awarded the Victoria Cross along with the 2 sergeants. But he never got it right away. He had to wait a further 3.5 years until November 1860. And if you could imagine, in that time, this man was suffering from a debilitating disease called narcolepsy. He was also suffering from rheumatoid arthritis. So this man was in pain anyway. In November 1860, he was court-martialed just prior to receiving his Victoria Cross. They couldn't execute him because any menial offence, if you're court-martialed, you were executed. As an example for the army. But unfortunately for the army, they couldn't execute him because in a few days' time he was actually going to receive his Victoria Cross off the Queen herself, Victoria. He stood for 12 solid hours, 48 hours after being punished, because they had to punish him, and he gave him 50 lashes. And he stood there waiting for his Victoria Cross off the Queen. She knew nothing at all about the punishment. All she knew that she was going to present this brave man. She came, she gave him the Victoria Cross, congratulated him. She walked away. After she disappeared, he was marched by 2 officers through the portals. This is Buckingham Palace, where he was stripped of his uniform, stripped of his medal, dishonourably discharged, and he was left destitute. Less than 2 minutes after receiving his Victoria Cross, he made his way back to Liverpool. Now, why he made his way back to Liverpool is this. He never, ever, ever forgot his mother. He always wanted to know what his proper name was. So he made his way back to his spiritual home, which was Brownlow Hill Workhouse. He got back, finally got back. Banged on the door like his mother did. Unfortunately, he was in such pain because of his 50 lashes, still suffering from rheumatoid arthritis. He was brought through, readmitted, brought through the dormitories, where he lay down on his bed and died. And that's the extraordinary story of Liverpool's first recipient of the Victoria Cross. Now, what I'm going to say now is that allegedly he was drunk on parade. However, if we look at it more closely, with that debilitating disease called narcolepsis, where you slur your speech and you stagger, he could have easily been suffering then and not being drunk on parade. But unfortunately, he was court-martialed for it.
So what do you think of that? Little cakey.
I think that is one of the most powerful stories ever. That should have been on television. That should have been either through Granada TV or BBC out there. You know, that is absolutely, and it should be on a regular repeat.
Well, when I wrote a play, didn't I, about it?
Yeah.
And even the people, you know, one of the cast said, this will become a drama series, this is bound to become a drama series. But it never went on because of COVID. We had it was going to go on at St. George's Hall because it's already put a play on there.
Yeah.
And they were made up with it. As you know, Jake Abraham, he wanted to direct it, Jake.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, okay. I said, but I want you in it. He said, I'll just be in it as well. There's no problem. I said, okay. And unfortunately, as you know, Jake died. I couldn't put it on. And I don't want to put it on.
You know what?
I've got, do you know what? I've got the, I've got the scripts. I can see the scripts. No. There's the scripts here. Me cast. Found them the other day.
That is absolutely fantastic.
The scripts.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. It's like a sketchbook. Yeah,
Yeah.
everything there. You know what? It, we will meet someone who can do that justice. The great sadness today is that news comes in that they're gonna shut down Radio Merseyside. So there's the voice of
I'll give you the very first 2 lines of the play.
yeah,
Because what it is, it's Dickens, it's a reflection of him
yeah,
when he found out about John Kay,
yeah.
the
Here
little boy
in Liverpool.
and the babe. And it's Dickens, and he says, "Let me introduce myself. I'm Charles Dickens, and you may well be familiar with my writings." Then he goes on. He goes on to say whatever he says. Right there.
Love it. Love it.
See?
Yeah. I love it, Frank.
So that's my script. And I found them. They were for the, some of them got them and they were, wow, this is powerful stuff, this. So I don't know what to do, to be honest, whether to give it to Francine and say, do whatever you want.
It's got to be presented to someone else. And the good news in the city is that the Epstein Theatre that used to be Neptune Theatre is now open again. And that is absolutely ideal for that play. Just
Yeah, I never thought of that.
the acoustics are perfect.
Yeah.
And you could hear a pin drop, which is what you want as well.
It's his ideal, actually. It really is, because it's, you see Dickens. The unfortunate thing, he can't have kids in it. And he's looking through a door along with one of the beadle of the house, shall we say, the workhouse. And he's saying, where is he? Where's this John Kay? Come here, boy. Come here, boy. This fella says. And Dickens pulls him and he says, no, don't frighten the boy. And he talks to him through a thing, but you don't see the boy. Just hear a little voice. And that's it. That's how it starts.
Yeah.
It's a very poignant, but there's humour in it as well.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. There's humour in it.
Yeah, but that's and that's a great Liverpool way as well.
Yeah, it has to be. I said to Jimmy McGovern, if you ever see Jimmy, just ask him. I said, Jimmy, do this. He said, no, you do it. It's brilliant what you're telling me. Do it. Write it. I went, okay. You shout at me. That's okay. And I wrote it. I'm not reading your thing out here. Peter Brown, I would love to know what it was like growing up in Liverpool as the Beatles emerged. Was their influence on the culture of the city as monumental as it? Yeah, it was, Peter. I actually I've mentioned this loads of times. I seen the Beatles when I was 14 years of age. And I never had a clue who the Beatles were. And my mates, school chum, he said, come on, let's bunk off and go up and see it. I said, who are they? He said, come on. And anyway, we went up, bunked off school, playtime. We went out to the school and went up to the Locarno, which is now the Olympia.
Yeah.
It's still there. And we went there, and I was telling you, Anthony, wasn't I? I can still see the poster, a yellow background with the four lads. And it said stars of radio and television. That's all it said. Yeah. Stars of radio and television. And the number one hit, Please Please Me.
Yeah. 63, 64.
And we went in there and couldn't hear a thing, like just seeing them on stage.
You
just couldn't see them.
They were just monumental.
And my mate who told me to go up with him, he's no longer with us. He died when he was 24. 24 bloody years of age. Carried him, me and the lads. You can imagine 24-year-old lads carrying the mate, coffin. So it was Peter Brown. It was monumental. It's like now, like my granddaughter, she's 13 years of age, Peter, loves the Beatles. Loves the Beatles and Mo Salad. She loves Mo Salad.
Yeah.
Ekatike. And she went down with her mother, Francine. Francine brought her down on, I think Saturday. It was a Saturday she went. Or Sunday. I don't know what bloody day. And she just loved it. She lapped everything up. The Beatles, Sophie. And she was in the Cavern Club. She actually went in there and they just made a fuss about it. Yeah, you just sit there. And she was listening to the band. She listened to these lads from Japan. And she said they sounded like them.
Yeah.
The Beatles. And she got all the songs,
Of course, it's the annual Beatles week, wasn't it? So you have bands from all over the world doing their version of Beatles, yeah.
And when I had that couple up, and they were talking to her, big Beatle fans,
here
the other day, and they said to her, well, what's your favourite album? Because she said, I've got albums. And she said, The White. That surprised me. She said, The White Album. I love it.
Wow.
The White Album.
Wow. But that's where it starts to be fragmented, because they're all doing their own thing. But beautiful albums, one of my favourites. But yeah, I think Liverpool's always been the home of music. And before the Beatles made it, there's one gig I would have loved to have seen, but I wasn't born at the time, which is Buddy Holly when he played the Philharmonic Hall. Or the Philharmonic Hall.
Philharmonic, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have loved to have seen Buddy Holly there. Yeah.
Well, do you know, I had Mike Pender on, the searches on the show. And it's through this. Ask Jason. And anyway, Mike said, I want you to come up and, they were appearing at the Phil. It was called, what was it called? Silver something. And they had everyone on. I had Billy J. Kramer on the show as well.
Oh.
And he was great, Billy. But Mike Pender was as well, they were really good.
Yeah.
And it was strange because he said, hey, of course. So I went up. I had to go to, I forget where he had to go. And I'm standing there like a dope. And this fella came up to me, he said, what are you doing standing there? He'd been standing there for I'm waiting for Mike Pender. He said, well, he'll wait all night. He said, he's been and gone. I said, what? That was it. So I came home.
Oh.
His searches. I was standing there for ages. I think I was standing there longer than 20 minutes. Because he was going to bring me into... into their changing room.
Yeah.
It's like Billy Kinsley. Billy Kinsley appeared down here at the, where was it? In the village hall here, and the Elsonian estate.
Yes.
And I went along, and Frankie Connie. And
Yeah.
Frankie came over. He said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Come in for a drink." He said, "Come on." Went in, and there's Billy, because we done that song, didn't we?
Yeah.
We done that.
Frankie have been good mates for many years. Yeah, he did that song, and I got to support him musically when they unveiled his book, because the portrait was done for his book. And then I got to play at the Cavern supporting Billy Kinsley. Very surreal.
Yeah. It is surreal when you see these people. It was very surreal when I was making that song with, and Kinsley backing me in his studio.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Lovely fact. It's just adorable, man. And Mick Gonzo says, great story about Johnny Cash. I walk through Williamson Square most days. I'll think of him when I walk through now. Elvis, Cash and Bowie are the only artists I regret not seeing live. Bowie.
Yeah.
I know a few people who've seen him. I was walking down Bold Street, and I seen a lad named Henry Santamera. I'd seen him for years, and he shouted at me, and I went, "Oh yes, that's great." Henry's dead now. He died just like that suddenly, and he said, "Do you remember the first? Do you remember what did he say? Do you remember us going to the Glastonbury?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "That was a terrible trek and a terrible trek back home." And he said to me, "Did you know that it was the first Glastonbury festival?" I said, "No. I went to the first Glastonbury festival. Me.
Wow.
Didn't even know until Henry said it."
Who was the big name?
I forget. Never even asked him. I forget who it was. I really do. Wasn't Elvis. Wasn't it?
You know what? I think that's part of the thing that throughout the 60s and the 70s, almost everything was a big name. We had so much good music and film and literature.
Yeah.
It was only the 80s that the corporates started
Yeah.
to take over everything.
I know what's saying that, Simon. Listen. Anyway, I don't come in here just to justify. I try to make contribution. If you don't like it and just make assumptions, that really grates me. That's all I say on the matter. Well, no one's making any assumptions. It's just like, see, don't forget what you read. It's like, Simon, honestly, it's like, you mentioned Rodney Street, for example. And you just mentioned it. And in fact, it was an admiral. And this admiral was called George Bridges. And he actually stopped an invasion force of the French coming into England. He stopped it. So, and he has a little battle with them, and he won the battle. So by the time he got back, they said, "Right, okay." And they elevated him to Lord Rodney. He just took the name Rodney. And he named a street after him. I thought you were going to go on about the bloody slave trade. Fed up with that. Fed up with that slave trade thing. Wow, chill out, Simon. Everyone gets along in here, says Mia.
Yeah. everyone's contribution is valuable.
Everyone.
Thank you,
And
Simon.
we always, Simon, I always read all your take, and they're brilliant, actually. Mate, I'm cool with you. Anyway, my blood is boiling. You have a good night. See you around. Oh, there you go. See, my blood is boiling. See what I mean?
There's
He
few,
won't.
but all the family.
Right, but he might. But then again, if look, let me tell you something. I'll make it easy. It's like Liverpool, for example. I'm not talking about football here. It's like the city, and the city is full of myths. Give you 3 examples. 1, St. George's Hall being back to front, built back to front. It's a load of nonsense. And it was built that way because of Lime Street Station. Lime Street Station came first, 1836. That came second, 1842, the building of it, the start of it. It opens its doors in 1854. The architect was Harvey Lonsdale Elms. Now, Harvey Lonsdale Elms suffered from what Keats suffered from, consumption, tuberculosis. Now, the myth surrounding him was, as the hall was being built, the hall was being built back to front, and he committed suicide. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He was suffering from consumption. And his physician sent him over, which was a ridiculous place to send him because of the long journey and everything else, to Jamaica, where, unfortunately, he died. The heat got to him. The heat got to him. And he died. So, with people saying, and this is like Chinese whispers, saying, the hall was built back to front, which it wasn't. And I'll tell you for why it wasn't. St. John's Gardens had a church there. Now, don't forget, it started in 1842, completed and opened in 1854. So it took 12 years to build St. George's Hall. Right? The church wasn't knocked down until 1896. And then they made it into a garden because they had to take out all, it was a graveyard. So they took out the bodies and whatever, but still left the French prisoners of war there, from the Napoleonic Wars. They never took them. They're still there. That's why I say on one of my DVDs, there's history. People don't realise when they're in St. John's Gardens, there's history below the feet.
Yeah.
And it's those poor lads who perished during the Napoleonic Wars and when they were taken prisoners. Shocking. Well, the prisoners, how they were treated. So anyway, people say that it was built back to, no, it wasn't. It was built the proper way because what he wanted to show those beautiful Corinthian columns, a big Greek temple, because this is Elms, by the way. And he wanted the 2 ancient Greeks. He wanted ancient Greece and ancient Rome. But the interior of the hall itself is Roman. The outside is Greek. And people coming out of Lime Street Station, these very rich, influential people, could see it. They even do it today. Anyone who hasn't been to Liverpool, they get a train and they come out of Lime Street Station. What's in front of them? St. George's Hall. Yeah. And they're just in awe. They just go, oh, wow. Yeah. Even Tony Benn said it. He'd never been to Liverpool. Tony Benn, until later years. And when he came out of Lime Street, he went, whoa! And he looked over, he seen all the neoclassical stuff.
Yeah.
He said, what a beautiful thing. And that's the way he built it.
Yeah.
But he died 7 years before the completion of Lonsdale Elms. And his mentor, Professor Sir Charles Cockerell, took over the build.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a myth. The other myth is concerns the slave trade and exchange flags. Exchange flags. Because people, when they see Nelson and they see fellas in chains, so they put 2 and 2 together and come up with 49, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
And they say, oh, they must be slaves. All they have to do is just walk over to one of the statues. There's 4 lads, or the old 4 of them, go around them, look at the faces and the hair and, you know, the Caucasian, the white, and what they represent. Now, don't forget, this is a monument to Nelson. And what they represent, each prisoner represents in chains from 4 battles: the Battle of St. Vincent, the Battle of the Nile, the Battle of Copenhagen, and his final battle, the Battle of Trafalgar. That's what they represent. Yet people say, oh, they're slaves because of the chains. And unfortunately, you do get people saying that. And I've actually pulled them about it when I've been going through and seeing it. I said, whoa, hang on a minute. And this is annoying. That's the annoying thing. And I tell you the final one, you know, there's loads more, by the way, loads more. The final one, which I'm going to say, I said I'd give you 3, is the statue up in London Road, where you see George III sitting on a horse as a Roman emperor.
Yeah.
Now, what he was a great fan of, George III, when he was all right, that is, was Marcus Aurelius. And Marcus Aurelius was one of the greatest of all emperors of Rome, a great man. And I've actually seen, say in London Road, you know that we were always there, Anthony. You know, you can't miss it. TJ Hughes was going there even as a little child, going to Grotto and whatever. But I always, you know, I know about the statue. And then you get to know who actually designed it. I'll come to the myth in a moment. So I got to know about the statue. Always looked at a Roman emperor. But it wasn't a Roman emperor, it was George III. Because that's the way he wanted it. And the fella who sculpted it was George Westmacott. And when you look at it, if you're ever in London Road, go over to the statue and look at it, the legs, look at the feet. It's got no stirrups. No stirrups. And people, again, Chinese bloody whispers, said, oh, he committed suicide, just to say something. Or he committed suicide when he found out that he forgot to put stirrups on. Let me tell you, stirrups. The Romans never used stirrups. They weren't invented then. They weren't invented then. They were great horsemen anyway. And so he committed suicide. That's the myth.
Yeah.
He didn't commit suicide. The man lived till he was 84 years of age. 84 years of age, and he died of natural causes. God blimey, you know, and these are some of the things. And people, it's like the Gory. It's like the Gory. We had a Gory. The Gory Piazza. And well, all the slaves were all in there. Again, it's Chinese whispers. And what it is, it's sailors during the slave trade, used to go by the Gori in East Senegal. It was a massive fortress, and that's where slaves were kept to be transported over the Atlantic to the likes of the Caribbean islands, Brazil, and then finally, a few of them went over to Florida, America. So they said, so sailors are saying, throughout the years from, the Gori in East Senegal, and we had a Gori here. So you can imagine, sailors say, I passed the Gori. I've seen the slaves. Think about it. Oh, yeah, I passed the Gori, seen the slaves. These are Liverpool sailors. But what they were talking about was the Gori in East Senegal, not the Gori here in Liverpool. How slaves getting off a ship and being put in the Gori? Absolutely ridiculous.
It's like you said before, it's 1 and 1 makes 48.
Exactly. And you think about it and you go, oh, well, that was a total myth about the Gori holding loads of slaves chained. It's like at the time I was waiting for my students, I was waiting for them because I was taking them for a walk around the pier head, and I was starting off at the museum, pier head. So I was standing there, the Maritime Museum, by the way, I was there. So I was standing, by the big red pillars, columns. Just standing there, and there was a group of people. And it was a lady, I never had a clue who this woman was. She wasn't from Liverpool either. And she had this little, thing, little note thing. And she said, oh, yes, and these rings that you see was where they chained the slaves. And they all went, oh, these people went from Liverpool, by the way. The group. They went from Liverpool. And she was going on about all these slaves being chained to the... and I had to say something. I said, I'm not. And I just stepped forward from behind the column. And I said, excuse me. She said, yes. I said, are you saying that slaves were chained? She said, yes, they were. I said, who told you that? She said, it's a well-known fact. I said, who told you? Someone must have told you. If you're saying that they were it. She said, no, it's a well-known fact. I said, oh, right, okay. And there's what I just said to the lady and the people. I said, I'm a historian. These rings, what the lady's telling you about, weren't even here during the slave trade. I said, simply because the slave trade ended in 1807. And this, where you are now, didn't open its thing until 1846. 39 years after the slave trade was abolished. And that was it. They just, look, even the woman couldn't say anything. And she said, okay, okay, thank you. And just got off, and they all followed her. And they went like that to me. I just went, okay. You say so. These myths, and they really fucking get to me.
Yeah.
They really do. And it's so annoying.
Yeah.
To think that no, I wanted to know why George Sett said a dark history. I knew where he was going, especially when he mentioned Gladstone. When the slave trade was on, the share that Gladstone, he was involved in the slave. Do you know how old he was when the slave trade ended? 2 years of age. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Gladstone.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying. I don't know what this is about. What's he saying? What's he saying, Mia? Mia says, he hasn't been saying anything bad, Callum. He's just disagreeing with someone by the looks of it. But it was just trying to... Mia, he's always moaning. Can't lie. Who's this? Is he fucking talking about that? Me?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know, but it's chill now, so let's move on. That was fascinating, Franco, says Toscana. Thank you. Frank, please keep those scripts safe, says Johan. We'll find someone to make it in your vision. Thank you. If you ever come down to see me, I'll give you one and I'll sign it for you. How about that, Johan? If you ever come down to see me. And Simon says, Callum, grow up. I'm not having anyone talk about me. I'm sorry for the adults in the conversation, but for the immature ones, grow up. He isn't spitting his dummy out. I go where I'm wanted. Fucking hell. What's going on? Do you know what? Simon's done this twice, remember? And no one's... I'm sorry, but... Amir says, Simon, just chill out. You were wanted here. It's just a disagreement, nothing personal. Exactly. Mia, says Simon, I'm going to say one thing. You read about this Westcott. I just thought, I'm not having anyone trying to stick mud on me because they have a disagreement. Pathetic. Really need to grow up. All right, now that's enough said. Really, enough said. Come on. This is a great historical thing, and we all love each other. You know that, Simon. We all love each other. But the Beatles, says Toscana, best thing since sliced bread. I can stand corrected. Better than sliced bread. I stand corrected. They split in 70 and we're still talking legends forevermore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Toscana, I'm posting that thing tomorrow because honestly, I couldn't get out to post. Now, if you want this, I'll put it in the envelope. Hang on a sec, I'll find it. It's mad, honestly. Bear with me, Toscana. Yeah. I'll just, I'll put more stamps on. Let me know if you want that.
Brilliant book. Brilliant interview.
Let me know if you want it, and I'll put this in the envelope tomorrow to post. Okay? Let me know if you haven't got it. I stand at the split in 70, and we're still talking about them. Yeah, we are still, like I said about my granddaughter, Sophia, loves them. And other kids. I gave albums away to Jason because I went up to Jason weeks and weeks ago to sit out in his garden. That's all. I just need fresh air. Just like I went over to you, Anthony, remember? Anyway, I'm sitting there and he's got a lovely little girl, daughter, Ayla. She's 14 and she has a little mates. And one of her mates, lovely little girl, and she said she was well into the Beatles, just like my granddaughter. Well into them. And I said to Sophia, before I met this young girl, I said, I've got albums there. Do you want them? She said, no, Grandad, I've got all the downloads. I don't need them. So I said, okay. She said, I haven't got a DVD. I said, okay. Because they were great albums. They had pictures in.
Yeah.
They had pictures in. And so I said, okay. So I said to Jason, I said to the little girl last night, I said, are you into the Beatles? And she said, yeah, I loved them. Just like Sophia. I said, I've got albums there. Do you want them? I said, but the DVDs, not the CDs. She said, oh, yeah, please, I've got a CD. I said, okay, I'll give you them. I said, I'll give them to Ayla's dad when I see him again. So she said, will you? I said, yeah. And I gave her them. I gave Jason when he came down. I said, yeah, that's to the young girl.
That's fantastic. I mean, I've got on the wall somewhere is all my vinyls, the albums from the 60s, 70s, bought them. And the kids, you know what, Tom and Kate, they're into that. They've gone backwards with the with music.
Why is Tom into them as well?
Yeah.
A lovely kid, yeah. He impressed me. And his girlfriend, Tom.
Yeah.
Lovely lad.
Yeah.
He said, finally met you, didn't he? To me.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, because they listen to the show, you know, when we're on.
Yeah.
So, and when Lainey's watching in the other room, they'll watch it with her and stuff. And when Tom goes away, I always tip him the nod that, you know, Frank's going to be talking about this tonight and whatever.
Oh, good, yeah.
So whatever he knows, he just tunes in. No.
Oh, that's super cool. I like that. I like that. He's a crack on lad. And Mia says, all right, like I said, nothing personal. No one here is hating you, and you are welcome here. But let's just forget it. That's right. See, I love Simon's thing. I always say to him, and he doesn't take offence. I always say, yeah, we're going to get a thesis now or a big essay. I said, because he does. He comes out and says some smashing things. Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed. But you talk, I hope that's not a slant at me, Simon. Because, to be honest, I'm not an illusion. I'm not delusional. I'm too long in the truth for that. Okay, stop acting like a baby now. Everyone is moving on. And you need, just don't answer. Michael J. Hiya, Michael J. Like the float of tonight, so real. A conversation and a boozer. That's what, when I interviewed, believe it or not, when I interviewed, he lives in New York. Who did he interview? Billy J. Kramer. And he said to us, that adjacent got hold of me and he said, did you know what he said? You know, after like a couple of days, he said, his agent got hold of Jason and said, Billy J. Kramer was highly impressed. He said, it was just like sitting down, having a beer or a cup of tea, talking to this Frank guy. Not lovely. Not a great compliment.
High praise.
Yeah. Far too many myths about the city, and unfortunately spread by people who don't know better. And we know who it is, don't we, Lynn? Frank? Also says God expects every man to do his duty. That's written on it, yeah. Oh, yeah. You don't want anyone to talk about the Northishman and get angry. I get angry when anyone can say a flippant comment. I'm probably watching videos of a guy with the iffy background. Watching videos of a guy with an iffy background. And I just say, okay. But no one's saying nothing. Okay, now. I'm not getting this at all. Sorry, we can have a discussion. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But no one just say anything with nothing to back it up. I know your history and I respect you as a learner to story. I've had enough of this, to be honest. I've had a fucking enough of it. And Peter Brown, some amazing stories. Thanks ever so much, gents. Subscribed and shared. Oh, shared, thank you. First time I've ever someone has said they'd share. And Peter, Johan says, Peter, thank you, Peter. Welcome to the FC family. And lovely Lynn says, Lawrence Westgaff is trying to change to past. We can't change what's gone, only learn from the past. We sure do, Frank. Know a few. Yeah, we do. Unfortunately. Stephen Mulholland, my old mate. Another myth was the name Penny Lane, and it wasn't connected exactly. Exactly, that's a terrible myth as well. As I said, there's lots of myths. And what it was, Penny Lane, it was half penny to go and get some water because there was a well there. And people write anything they want. People write anything. Even on, what do they call it? Wikipedia. Wikipedia. I think this is a cracker. When a woman you don't know tells you to stop, you should. They are very bossy. My ex was like that. I think everyone's ex was like that, to be honest, Callum. Oh, blimey. But you're right there, Steve, Penny Lane. And they try to associate things with the slave trade. Got nothing at all to do with it. They wanted their street names changed. I said, why? Why? Why do you want, the there? It's a show.
It's a show. You know
about them, fine.
Yeah.
You see, what people tend to forget, like people they were dehumanized. They were stripped of everything. That's how they were dehumanized. They were stripped of everything. They were given a number or a name. Yeah, that's your name from now on. And they were branded.
Yeah.
And as the years went on, during the slave trade, that is, they weren't branded anymore, but they were given names. And then let's take the cotton fields, for example. let's take the cotton fields, for example. You had people working in the cotton fields, slaves. It was arduous work, it was hard work. But as time went on, they started to build. So they started to procreate too. And they never starved at anything. They ate. It was like the Irish during the, the takeover of Ireland.
Yeah.
After Cromwell was there. And he gave the land to all the, well, especially in 1566 when Sir Humphrey Gilbert got there and gave the land, split it all up and gave it to the English. And they all became the landlords of the land.
Yeah.
And they were more or less slaves. But people tend to forget about the slavery in this country. And I'm talking about white slaves.
Yeah.
Why do you think workhouses were set up?
Yeah.
Why do you think the English set up workhouses in 1846 in Ireland, all over Ireland? Because of the Great Movement after the 1845 famine.
Yeah.
Anyway, you've only got to look at the French prisoners of war. And what they did, they built the Georgian Quarter here in Liverpool. They built Rodney Street. They built Seymour Street. They built the Dock Road. They built 3 docks where the Liver, Cunard, and the Port of Liverpool building are sitting on. They built them. Do you think they got paid? No. Do you think the people who were in the workhouses who were sent out to work got paid? No. Their pay was the roof over their heads. And the only time they ever came out was feet first and into a lime pit. You had child labour. Lots of kids were killed. Lots of kids were blinded. And as they grew up, you see these men blinded. They lost limbs. You see them with one arm or one leg. And it wasn't through wars. It was through because when they were kids, they were being maimed and blind and killed, by the way, killed. And, as you know, we'll talk about it tomorrow night. Can't we? Will you, Blake? So you see the child labour. Child labour was terrible in this country. Workhouses were terrible in this country.
Yeah. It was all about...
Go on, sorry.
No, it was up the slavery aspect, and the child labour was all to enhance the industrial greatness of the city. Someone's got to stoke the fires. Someone's got to run the machines.
Yeah.
We're not paying them nothing.
See, in the mills, they were one of the worst. Because the kids, as the machines was going, spinning, they used to have to crawl in and take, the fluff of the cotton, when it was being whatever, and they used to have to take it. Sometimes they stopped, it was jammed, and when they took it away, it just started again, and they lost limbs. The chimneys,
absolutely,
they used to go up the chimneys and get stuck and down. They had a big hook, a massive hook.
Horrific.
And they used to pull them down, from the shoulder. And as they dropped, they broke their legs. Shocking it was. And they died as well, all the soot going into them. To unclog all the soot that was at the top of a chimney. And they were high chimneys then. You're talking like Victorian times.
Yeah.
Georgian and Victorian times. Big tall
Like
ship.
expendable. If it brings in money,
Talk about Blake and all these kids tomorrow. And Lynn says, "You're quiet tonight, aren't you? What are you doing all the time?"
I'm always quiet. I'm listening. I like to listen, like to learn.
And Bella said, "Franco, who was the big investor? The big investors to help build Liverpool in the old day, the historical buildings." I know you might have heard a thing called Liverpool was built upon the blood of slaves. That's it's a myth. Because, people think that all Liverpool merchants were involved in the slave trade. They weren't. People from outside, from London, Glasgow, believe it or not, Edinburgh, Leeds, Newcastle, all around the country came here to Liverpool because they had ships belonging to the slave trade. Because Liverpool was in the right place at the right time during the 107-year history of the slave trade. So there was investment. We had more millionaires living in Liverpool in the mid-19th century than anywhere else. You see, the percentage of money coming in to Liverpool from the slave trade, and most of us had not. They paid a tax on it. They paid a tax on it. It was 24% of trade coming in belonging to the slave trade. And don't forget that they was going, the likes of Newcastle was involved in the slave trade. Glasgow, they were all there. Bristol was one of the main ports of the slave trade. Bristol, no one mentions them. They were the biggest them. Point is, I'm talking about Liverpool here. The investment coming in, from the slave trade, the goods, the likes of the molasses and the fruits and whatever from the slave trade. It was distributed. Say like there was people from, say, Newcastle, for example, and they had their ship, so they brought all their goods off the ships. Say like it was sugar, just say that. It was sugar. And they brought it up to Newcastle to sell around their area, the northeast. But they had to pay a tax for their ships. The other 76% of goods, and I'm talking about the world there, coming in. I'm talking about all the European countries, the likes of the wine, the fruits and everything else. China, silks, India, spices, everything coming in here. 76% have nothing at all to do with the slave trade. So that's where the investors came in. You have brewers.
Yeah.
You have brewers like Walker, the Walker Gallery. Put his art up there.
Yeah.
He even gave his books in into the library in William Brown Street 2.
Yeah.
You can see them all. But people say, "Oh, it was built on the blood of..." No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Where Paddy's wigwam is, there was a workhouse, the biggest workhouse in the country. And at one time, 11,000 could fit in there. 11. Whereas the average workhouse could only hold 1,100. And Lynn says, Anthony, I learnt my history from the best too. I must be making this up. George said, Frank and Anthony, I bid you good night, as sadly I'm up at 5 a.m. for work until the next time. George, I'll be here in the Titanic soon.
Good night, George. Thank you.
Johan. Eventful evening, as Michael J. Lloyd pointed out, ye old Carlyle's chat room. It's the oldest pub in Liverpool. The Crackers, not the Crackers, sorry, Hole in the Wall. And it's great how it got its name.
Yeah.
It's great how it got its name.
Yeah.
Ye Hole in the Wall.
Fantastic if you can get in. And
If you can get
in. Yeah. Couldn't, could we?
No, couldn't get in.
Will next time, put out.
Yeah, because we were next door, weren't we, in the saddle, and decided to go there and couldn't get in.
Yeah, couldn't get out in the front door, which is great for brilliant that it's still going.
The economics, and it wasn't like a nice. That's all. It was a great little night, though, wasn't it? It was around Christmas time, wasn't it? We met up.
Early December. Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, we're on tomorrow. We're on tomorrow, the history of literature.
Yeah.
It just shows you, doesn't it? You know, how people perceive things. And you know what? I never put any of these up. Look at that. That's how you clean the streets. Conversation row. I'm going to show you something here. Where is it?
Go.
Where is it? No, that's not it. That's not. Just can you see that arrow there? No, you can't see that arrow, can you? Okay.
No.
Do you see? I'll have to show you it again, and I'll tell you exactly where the first blind school in the Wales was. And he pulled it down. The overhead railway.
Wow. Wow.
The Chinese Seamen's Hostel in St. George Square. And that was bombed. And 48 of them died. And no one mentions them. No one mentions them. They're a forgotten part of our history, which is a shame. I remember giving a talk at somewhere, I think it was St. George's Hall, and I mentioned the Chinese.
Yeah.
You know, I said they were the very first ethnic community in Liverpool between 1824 and 6. And as I was talking about them, you know, and integrating them, whatever, I said, but no one knows anything about the sailors when they were bombed in the Chinese hostel, and it was just bombed and killed. People were killed, Chinese were killed, and it was shocking. And the Korean War, I said as well, has a lot to do with hatred towards the Chinese, but these were Liverpool Chinese. These were Scousers. They spoke like you and I. Sorry, go on.
No, I'm just outstanding. This is a logic that we'll never ever understand. The sheer hatred towards another skin or culture because there's a fight going on somewhere else in the world. It does not make sense. What I got a lot of strength from, and I thought was such a beautiful thing, is when you mentioned the Japanese area of Liverpool, just up the road from St. George's Hall. And obviously, I've in all my lifetime, I've grown up and walked through Chinatown, which I think is just a beautiful part of the city. You could not imagine Liverpool without the multicultural day-to-day life. You couldn't, and you wouldn't want it.
Well, to be honest, I'll tell you what it's like the Korean War, and people were, upset with the Chinese. Now, these were Liverpool Chinese. These have been here since 1824. Right, so, they got upset. Oh, we're fighting the Chinese. What were we there for anyway? And the Americans drag us into everything. And anyway, so the Chinese get the blame, and no one mentions it. I do.
Good.
I do. Because it's just like, say something happens bad in a family by one person, happens bad.
Yeah.
The family get the blame when they have nothing at all to do with it.
Yeah.
The family get the blame. That's the way I put it over to people about our Chinese brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Bella, it's sad, Franco, when you see buildings that are historical. Oh, don't remind me, Bella. I've fought, saved a few, which is historical, but they would have been no more after today. And Michael J says, I think Tony should speak up more. And as Johan says, guilty by association. That's what it is. That's what it is, guilty by association. It's shocking. It really is. I know some families who went through it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that's that. And I'm going to finish tonight, boys and girls. And we're going on about, look at that. I love that. I really love that. And it was the building of the...
Yes.
Fantastic. Still there. They're building the clock tower, which is taken from Venice, a copy of Venice. It's a Venetian clock.
Oh, it looks like it totally looks like so many of the old historic photos of Liverpool at that time just so remind me of Venice. But you just prompted a little bit of good news for us history. The artwork there is by our wonderful Herdman, who we love with a passion, his work. The art gallery in Birkenhead, the Williamson Art Gallery, which was established in the 1929 by a father and son philanthropist team, Williamson. They have just opened online and in the gallery a specific Herdman experience. His work is now digitized and online, so anyone can view it, and you can go in to the gallery and hopefully see more of his work in there.
Yeah, it's so unbelievable work just like that there.
Oh, without him, Frank, it's like art and literature to me is the same kind of thing. And I know we'll talk about it tomorrow, but
Yeah, we'll talk about that tomorrow because it's very important.
we need
Okay.
the record of what's gone on.
And as Lynn says, love that building, the
Yeah.
Munich. Yeah.
Oh,
Jimmy said, it's a pub now.
it's it's a hotel, restaurant, yeah. Yeah.
Good night, everyone, says Lynn. And Peter says, I always found memories of drinking. I have fond memories, I'm sorry, of drinking Kane's Real Ale in Liverpool. It was such an amazing pub culture. I was gutted when the brewery closed. Do you know what caused it to close? Just went out of business. And I'll tell you something else, what you mightn't know, Peter, is that Kane's had a leak. It had a leak. I actually went in there and he had a little boat on it, a lake. And that's where they made the ale from. That water. Beautiful water, fresh water. Obviously, it was cleaned up and whatever before they started brewing the ale. But it just went out. Now it's it's a quarter, isn't it? No.
Yeah. I mean, there's a real sense of history in the. You've only got to look at some of the old pubs, and etched in the stones, there's the name Walkers, Hickson's, all of the old brewers who all have bases here in Liverpool.
Yeah.
So Canes weren't the first ones, but
yeah. See, what it is as well is a lot of import stuff. Peter, a lot of import lager and whatever beers coming over, different type of beers. And that's one of the reasons why it just went out of business. Yeah. And Johan, thank you, Frank, Anthony, Jason, legends in the chat. Have a good night, everyone. Couple of beers for Mia and Simon to calm down. He's made it worse. And Bella says, Buonanotte, Franco and Anthony. Chats and chats. Great night once again. Thank you, Bella.
Thank you, Bella.
It's great though, isn't it? You know, when you see things like that. And there's you go. There's your Liverpool. Liverpool. Love it. Love it. Ah.
1640. We were in first year juniors then, Frank.
Well, I won't be seeing you tomorrow night, Anthony. First year juniors, 1640. That was just before the Civil War, actually. When you look at that.
Yeah.
Because there's a perimeter that goes right around Liverpool. And there's Simon's Wood. I told her the story, didn't I, how it got its name, Simmons Wood.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's incredible how it got its name. Fantastic. But anyway, we'll talk about that some other time. Definitely, I'll leave that on there. And we'll talk about that because it is fascinating. And I just want to say, see you tomorrow night. The history of literature.
Thank you. Thank you all.
We'll talk about Blake and how it stems to today.
Yes. Everything.
Toscana, can I just say something? Toscana thought you left us. Listen, do you want this? I told you. If you haven't got it, I know you're a big fan. If you haven't got it, I'll give you this. I'll put it in the envelope. Do you want me to do it? But you'll have to answer me now. Just put yes or no. That's all. Because as she says, I'd love it. Well, okay, that's going in the post tomorrow, along with the other thing. Okay, Toscana, tomorrow. Honestly, that's a promise, that. Because finally I've broken the shackles. I'm going out to do shopping. And the post office.
Oh, wow.
So I'm glad it's become a... I'm really glad that, you know, I didn't post it now when the post office bloody shut. But I'll be able to throw that in and you'll get it. You'll get it. This week sometime. Franco, can I pick it up when I'm over in Liverpool? Do you want to pick it? You know what else I'm giving you as well? If you want, I'll post them onto you. But you know, do you want to pick the other stuff up as well? I promised you. Let me know, yes or no, next month. Next month's only next week, isn't it? I'm waiting for her answer. Oh, I'll send her a message. I've got a number there. I'll send her. So, Anthony, tomorrow.
Yes, sir. We'll be there, Frank.
Saves you a trip to the... Okay. No, I'm going to post them tomorrow. No problem. You'll have them. You'll have everything. Instead of traipsing. That's no problem, honestly. Anyway, what do you think it's tonight? Poor Simon.
I love it, as I always do. And,
Sorry?
I always learn something and it feels like a family, and it always upsets the balance when one of us is kind of,
says, yeah.
no, but hopefully, you know, we got to the end of the show and we're all friends again. You know, there's always going to be subjects which are controversial. There is with history, and there is present day. You know, that's the beauty of delving into history, because nothing is so special that comes out today that it didn't happen centuries ago, years ago, weeks ago. You know, and we if you delve into history, you have got me delving into history far more than that I did. I've always been interested in. But when you read and you go back and you think, wow, they've done this before, that's happened before.
Yes.
We've talked often about the pros and cons of believing one book or one thing, that's what happened. And it isn't. You gotta read 5 or 10 books. You gotta do your research. And unfortunately, sometimes in the day of AI, which I hate, by the way, we're led down so many crooked paths.
We have, haven't we? Look at this. Frank, that Liverpool slope, Newcastle Tears was the highlight of the show for me. I wish my history teachers from school were as relatable as your show. One of the things, it's on one of my things. I don't know who put them up. And you see me, the BBC came down And they actually interviewed two people. They showed the crowd outside St. George's Hall. It was chock-a-block. I didn't know. And they were in there, the cameras. And they were showing me. And it was on for 20 minutes. And they interviewed two people. And they more or less said, this fella, he said more or less what Johan said. Yeah. I wish my history teacher would have taken more interest in history if they would have been like Frank, you know. Which is
Me
nice.
too.
It's a great compliment. And you know that, Ken Dodson.
Yeah. Ken
Dodds got up and walked out. This fella said to him, I want you to listen to this story. And he was okay. And he goes, I thought it was me appearing. And it wasn't. It was this other fella. And he said, why didn't you get Frank in? He said, who's this? And that was it. He got off.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the other beautiful thing about Ken Dodd, he loved where he came from. He loved the accent, your accent. He loved you delivering history.
Yeah.
In that way, as we all do. But you know, it becomes sterile really when you rehearse an accent and you put the suit and the tie on and you're reading from a script. There's no passion in that.
No, you know, people. I always remember a DVD that I did, and it was about. I tell you, forget what it was about and what the title was, but I always remember. I was talking about on one of the clips, one of the segments about Eleanor Rigby and Tommy Steele and whatever and what's inside, and I always remember in the bloopers. You see Tony Snell, he's like that. You know, as though I was reading from a script. I never ever had a script. I can't read scripts. Never ever had a script. It's always off the cuff. Always off the cuff. And you'd always get interrupted. But, you know, it didn't bother me, though. But I never ever read off the cuff. Read off a script. And you know that because you've seen me give talks.
Yeah.
And Michael J says, Tony, I don't know if I prefer you quiet, lol. Laughing out loud. And the vlogs. Just seen a video, Frank, of hidden tunnels under Garston where cars were still down there from the 80s. And me, yeah. Been down there, got invited down years ago there. And as Anthony just prefers about, you know, saying about me in a suit and a tie, I went down there, came out, black. Black I was. Well, that was believe it or not, that was a tunnel from the overhead railway. They're not hidden. Believe it or not. That was from the overhead railway. And it was used as a garage. Because I have spoken, Lee, about the men, the Garston men, the mud men of Garston, which was a very dangerous job. It's a cheeky thing, isn't it? We've seen the bloopers, Frank. We know you can't read from a script. I think you just summed it up nicely there, Johan. Really, honestly, you have. So anyway, tomorrow night we've got the history of literature, which is, I think, it's one of my favourites. It really is, because it's so important. Literature is so important to the history of what's gone on in the past. Can't imagine that there's just some history in this city hidden away, says the vlogs. Yeah. Do you know what? I seen, Lee, And I think I've told you this, Anthony. There was 2 surveyors, and I was by Victoria's Monument, and I was about to finish going. My final visit was to the town hall,
Yeah.
and they pulled me over as we were walking over, and they said, "Frank," I said, "Yeah." I didn't know these gentlemen. They said, "How would you like to come with us?" I said, "I'm just going to town hall." I said, "I'm finishing." They said, "Will you come back here? We'll take you somewhere which is jaw-dropping." And I said, "Yeah, okay." They said, "Will you definitely come back?" Don't have a set. I said, "No, I'll come back." So anyway, I went back. There they were standing there. They said, "Come on, follow me." Where they took me. And you think about hidden tunnels and things like that. This was a hidden city, right under our feet. And it was all because of the Cold War. Incredible. Absolutely amazing. And they had like things to the museum, which it is now. The bottom of William Brown Street.
Yeah.
They had a tunnel leading into there. They had a tunnel leading into the library, a tunnel leading into the Walker. Right?
Wow.
Another tunnel right up to the School of Tropical Medicine. And other tunnels leading up. And I've seen, I don't know, it's hard to put a thing on this. Do you know when you go into a shop, a supermarket, and you see cans all piled up, the dead eye, you're terrified to go near them. And you go, wow, look at all them piles up. You know, cans, as a show, as a bit of a showpiece thing. So you buy them. I've never seen so many cans, tin cans of food in my life. In my life. It was, and it was just in case of a nuclear attack.
We were locked down, or someone was locked down.
Oh, you think about it. We wouldn't have got in there. There would have been no way we would have got in there. But when you think about where it led up to, the School of Tropical Medicine.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
They would have gone down in and below ground. It was a city within a city. Incredible.
We'd be in the hole in the wall anyway.
We'd be in the hole in the wall, yeah. Albeit we couldn't get in. Michael J. Good night. Good night, Michael.
Good night.
The vlogs. Why are things like that locked away, Frank? It's simple. I did a DVD and I was down a tunnel of a certain building. A tunnel. And these tunnel leads to banks and everything. As it was then. So, you know, that's what they're all in. Franco was to do with Churchill. What? Churchill? No. I think, Bella, I think it has to be more, I don't know. I don't like Churchill. And you know what, Frank, show for another day how preserved tin can food caused lead poisoning in the public. Yeah. And you know who invented the tin, don't you, for his troops was Napoleon himself. Because he didn't like any of his soldiers foraging all the time for food on his campaigns. And that was Napoleon. Sorry, Frank. I said the wrong thing. Don't be worrying. Good grief, Bella. I love you, honestly. Don't be worrying about that. Don't be apologising to me. But anyway, I've got to finish because Anthony's can't wait for his little Scotch.
Oh, past my bedtime.
But lady just sitting there. Have you enjoyed it?
I have, Frank. Always do. Well, thank you. Yeah, I have.
It's been
Not
good.
just on the ball.
It's been good. With a little bit of controversy.
Yeah. Yeah. Such is life.
I've got to read this out. And it's the vlogs. He loves me, doesn't he? The vlogs. He won't let us go. But he says it's very important, actually. There is a school in Old Swan. I remember someone saying, and under the schoolyards there's hundreds or thousands of bodies. Can't remember now. Or who they were. They were Irish. And St. Oswald's, the church, and the surrounding area was the biggest. I'm not saying cemetery, but the Irish were buried there. The Irish during the 1847 influx of the Irish after the 1845 potato famine. And don't forget what George Bernard Shaw said. How could there be a famine when the country was full of food? And lots of people died. Thousands. I remember the university said to me, will you go down to the VNC? I said, where's that? So anyway, I went down. They said, we want you to talk to the locals, give a few history classes and whatever. I said, okay. So I went down and they were building, remember the Sylvestrian?
Yeah.
And they were building that. And one day goes in, parks the car up, and there's all this sheeting around. You know, when you're starting to build it, sheeting around, every black sheet. And they found 2,000 bodies of the Irish. All Irish there. Just buried them. Just buried them. Wasn't a cemetery or anything. And the vlogs. That's it, Frank. Thank you. And I'll have a read into that. Good night, Frank and Tony. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
Thank you, vlogs.
Yeah. I too will have.
He's MI6 in. Don't care what anyone says. But Anthony, see you tomorrow. It'll be great, mate. I know that. We'll be talking about William Blake. We'll be talking about everyone. We'll be talking about. Hey, do you know who's into Shakespeare? Anthony? Sophia.
Yeah, way. Great.
Sophia, Lord. I've got to take her next year to Lido di Eslo because it's so easy, you know, on an excursion to get to Verona. Yeah. She wants to go to Verona to see Juliet's balcony. Oh. She just looked, and they're doing it now, and well, when she goes back to school next week. Oh. Starting there, Romeo and Juliet. Wow. So we're going there.
How fantastic for us to go back in school and say, that's where I've been.
Yeah. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes, it is, Frank. Yeah.
Oh. And on that wonderful note, and you are Frank, it has to be mentioned how the maniacs of mass graves in Palestine. I know. Seen the journal team, but twice. Apologies. No, you're not bringing the mood down. It's very important that you do it.
Because history repeats itself.
Listen, tune in tomorrow, Johan, please. If you're doing nothing. Tune in tomorrow. And it says everything's repeated. I'm going to go back to the Irish tomorrow. and all their books and documents, everything being. This is during the Cromwellian campaign in Ireland, and all documents and everything being destroyed.
Yeah.
Literature, you name it, just destroyed.
Yeah.
And if you could imagine Cromwell at the time, just imagine if he would have been in the Shakespeare time, you would have never have heard of Macbeth or Hamlet. You would have never have heard of Cyril Turnier's The Revenger's Tragedy. You would never have heard of Christopher Marlowe. You wouldn't have heard of any of them. No. Because how many writers of their ilk during the kills me, you know what I mean? It just kills me about Cromwell and what he did and what he stopped. There was budding writers that we'll never hear of again. Never, ever, ever, ever.
Yeah. And the crazy...
Shut down everything.
The insane thing is that this is happening right now.
It is, yeah.
America.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Silence or silence.
Yeah. Well, and this bloody country, like terrorist states. They're calling every other country terrorists.
Yeah.
We can get locked up for 14 years if we said anything. And yet we're only mentioning the truth. Anyway. So no apologies needed, Joanne. Hope you're there tomorrow night. I hope everyone else is too. Anthony, mille grazie. See you tomorrow.
Indeed, Frank. I'll be there.
And got to thank Gap Painting Services for sponsoring the Frank Carlyle show. And there they are. Get onto them. Fully insured, fully time-staffed, 5-star customer ratings. Everything. Everything. Watch out, you get jailed. Absolutely. And that's the point. You do get jailed. 14 years. They carried off a blind man in a wheelchair the other day for holding a placard up, for God's sake. What have we plunged into? We've plunged into the depths of depravity. We really have an evil.
Yeah.
I'm backing a regime that's killing people because of a different colour.
Yes.
A different coloured skin. They're calling them subhuman. And there's a fella, what's his fucking name? Something like Elijah or something like that. And he's quote, I never took the bloody quote. And he said, kill them all and make them suffer. That's what he said. Make them suffer, this Israeli. I said he should be arrested for that.
Yeah, 14 years at least.
Should be arrested.
Yeah.
Remember, they arrested Charlie Chaplin 6 months ago. The irony. Yeah. Charlie was a Jew. But, you know, you can't blame Jews. You know, these are the Zionists that are there doing it. But you can, like, say, you know, about the Israelis. And it's just the Israeli government, not the ordinary Israeli. But mind you, I've seen them. Some are Israelis, you know, people. And 2 young girls, I've seen them in an interview, 2 young girls, late teens, early 20s, saying, I'll just kill them and get it over with. Just like saying, I'll just buy the baby an ice cream. Do you know what I mean? That's how flippant it was. I'll just kill them and get it over with. You can't believe it. Anyway, Gap Painting Services, thank you. Anthony, wonderful. Tomorrow, we'll have the history of literature.
Yeah, Frank. Yeah.
Johan, the ordinary population are vile. They are all complicit. They have mandatory service. Well, you've only got to look at that Gal Gadot, and she blamed the Palestinians for their failure as an actress and for the bombing of the two films she made, that Wonder Woman and Snow White. She blamed the Palestinians. Would you believe that? She came out and said, seen it the other night, seen it. Coming out of my mouth like that. Blaming the Palestinians. I never read it. Seen it, seen it. And don't forget she's ex-IDF. Franco, it's just like life has no meaning to some. No, Bella, no. Yeah. Gal Greenstein, original name. I didn't know that, Johan. Gal Gadot. So obviously, well, you've only got to look. She's got a star on the Walk of Fame. I don't think one of the greatest actors of all time. Gene Hackman has one, and she gets one. Why? Because of who owns Hollywood. And on that wonderful note, we've got to thank Jason. But who do we thank most importantly?
We thank our beautiful chatters. Thank you guys for being with us. Thank you. The comments take us in directions which we love. We love.
That's why it's history. Thank you so much, people, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. We really will. Buona notte, Franco and Anthony. Go this time. Yes, Bella, we are going. Vanno. Va. That means go. And we're away. Thank you, Anthony. See you tomorrow.
Chris Butty, cup of tea, and you're gone, man.
I might give you a ring, actually, if you don't mind. I might in about an hour. Is that all right? You going to bed with your scotch?
Yeah.
Okay, give you the bell.
Yeah.
Okay. See you in a moment.